I never thought a regular night at the bar would turn into a nightmare. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years, living together for 1, and I was planning to propose next year. Everything seemed perfect. Or so I thought. We left the bar around 3 in the morning. The streets were almost empty, the air was fresh, and after months of lockdown, it felt good to be outside. We were laughing, talking, when we saw them, a man and 2 women. The guy was clearly drunk, towering over them, blocking their way. The women looked tense, their eyes darting around, searching for an escape. Sarah stopped. "We can't just walk away." I nodded, trying to stay rational. "Call the police. Let them handle it. By the time they get here, it might be too late." She was right. I stepped forward and did something I'd only seen in movies. I pretended to be one of the women's boyfriend. "Hey, babe, I've been looking all over for you," I said, putting a hand on her shoulder. The man turned. Bloodshot eyes, massive frame, easily over 220 pounds. "Who the hell are you?" Before I could answer, he shoved me. I stumbled back but stayed on my feet. "They don't want to go with you," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Let them leave." He smirked. "And if I don't?" That's when I knew I had messed up. His fist slammed into my side. Pain shot through me. I heard a woman scream. Another blow sent me to the ground. I tried to get up, but he was already over me, fists still swinging. Then, nothing. I woke up in a hospital bed. My brother was talking to a doctor. Sarah sat next to me, staring at the floor. "You have broken ribs," she said quietly. "One punctured your lung." I reached for her hand, but she hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than anything. She kept visiting over the next few days, but something was different. The way she looked at me. The way she spoke. She was pulling away. Then, 5 days later, she said it. "I don't know if I feel safe with you anymore." That pain was worse than the beating. Sarah's words echoed in my head. "I don't know if I feel safe with you anymore." I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process it. My body ached, but that was nothing compared to the emptiness spreading inside me. I risked my life to help those women. And now, instead of support, I was being told that I wasn't enough. She left shortly after saying it, avoiding my eyes. My brother, David, walked in a few minutes later. He took one look at my face and sighed. "What happened?" I told him. David clenched his jaw. "That's messed up. She's supposed to be here for you." I shrugged. "I guess she's just processing everything." "Processing?" He scoffed. "You were lying in a hospital bed, and instead of supporting you, she's thinking about herself." I wanted to defend her, but I couldn't. He wasn't wrong. Sarah had always been sensitive, but this? This felt different. A nurse came in, checked my vitals, and told me I could go home the next morning. I barely slept that night. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't shut off. The next day, David helped me back to my apartment. Sarah wasn't there. I texted her. No reply. Over the next few days, I waited. Nothing. Finally, after 5 days, she sent a message. "I need time to think. Staying at my mom's for now." That was it. No apology. No concern. Just that. David saw me staring at my phone and shook his head. "You need to stop waiting for her, man." But how could I? We had 3 years together. I loved her. The apartment felt empty without her. Her things were still there, but the warmth was gone. I sat on the couch, staring at the door, hoping she'd walk through it. She didn't. 2 weeks passed. My injuries started healing, but my patience was running out. I wanted answers. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Sarah standing there. Her hair was a mess, her eyes red and puffy. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. Then she broke down crying. Sarah stood in the doorway, tears running down her face. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, her coming back, apologizing, explaining. But now that she was here, I felt nothing but exhaustion. I stepped aside. "Come in." She hesitated, then walked in slowly, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold herself together. I closed the door and turned to face her. "I don't even know where to start," she whispered. I sat down on the couch, motioning for her to do the same. She sat at the far end, putting as much space between us as possible. "Try the beginning," I said, keeping my voice calm. She took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. I really am. I know I abandoned you when you needed me the most. I panicked." "Panicked?" I repeated, my tone sharper than I intended. Her eyes filled with fresh tears. "I know how it sounds. But when I saw you get hurt like that, it did something to me. I waited. I thought I was over it," she continued, wiping at her face. "My childhood, my dad. I thought I had dealt with it. But watching you step in, watching you get hurt, it brought everything back. It was like I was a kid again, watching my brother get beaten for trying to protect my mom." She looked up at me. "And when I realized you could have died, something inside me just shut down. I couldn't handle it. So I ran." I exhaled slowly, trying to process what she was saying. It made sense in a way, but it didn't change what had happened. "Why didn't you tell me any of this before?" I asked. She shook her head. "I didn't want you to see me as broken." "Sarah," I said, my voice softer now. "I needed you. And you weren't there." Her face crumpled. "I know. And I hate myself for it." Silence stretched between us. I didn't know what to say. Finally, she spoke again. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed you to know the truth." I studied her for a long moment. "So what now?" She hesitated. "I don't know. But I want to fix this. If you still want me." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I had no idea what to do. I let her words settle. The weight of everything she had just said pressed down on me. A part of me wanted to tell her to leave, that she had already made her choice when she walked away. But another part of me, the part that had loved her for years, wasn't ready to let go just yet. "You want to fix this?" I repeated, finally looking at her again. She nodded. "More than anything." I ran a hand over my face. "Sarah, I spent 2 weeks alone, trying to understand what happened. You left me when I was at my lowest, and I had to rely on my brother to take care of me. Do you know how humiliating that was?" She flinched but didn't look away. "I know. And I'll never forgive myself for it." "That's not what I need to hear," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "What I need to know is why I should believe you won't do it again." She bit her lip, struggling to find the right words. "Because I'm going to get help. Therapy, whatever it takes. I can't let my past control me anymore." I studied her, searching for any sign that she was just saying what I wanted to hear. But there was something raw in her expression, something I hadn't seen before. "So you just realizing this now?" "I didn't realize how much my past still had a hold on me until I saw you like that," she admitted. "I thought I had moved on, but I hadn't. And I hurt you because of it." She reached out hesitantly, as if she was afraid I would pull away. I know I have no right to ask for another chance. But I love you, and I don't want to lose you. I stared at her hand for a moment before finally speaking. You're right. You don't have the right to ask. Her eyes filled with tears again, but she nodded, accepting my words. But, I continued, if you're serious about getting help, then I'll support you. She blinked in surprise. You will? I'm not saying everything's okay, I clarified. But if you're willing to put in the effort, I won't turn my back on you. A tear slipped down her cheek. Thank you. I nodded, but inside, I wasn't sure if I had made the right decision. Only time would tell. Sarah sat across from me, her hands clasped together tightly. The weight of everything that had happened hung between us. Her eyes darted to mine, searching for something, maybe forgiveness, maybe understanding. I don't know where to start, she said quietly. I kept my expression steady. The truth is a good place. She exhaled, nodding slowly. I know I hurt you. Leaving like that? I wasn't thinking straight. Her voice wavered, but I didn't respond right away. I let her words settle. You won't, I said finally. Sarah swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around the fabric of her sleeve. I should have been here. I should have taken care of you. A flicker of regret crossed her face, raw and unguarded. Yeah, you should have, I admitted. She didn't try to defend herself. Instead, she leaned forward slightly, as if closing the distance could somehow erase what had happened. I want to fix this, she whispered. I studied her carefully. Part of me wanted to believe her. Part of me wasn't sure if I could. That's not something words can do, Sarah. She nodded, looking down. The silence stretched between us, heavy but unbroken. After a moment, she straightened. Can I stay? Just for a little while? A simple request, but one loaded with meaning. I hesitated. I should have told her no. But I was tired of thinking, of feeling, of trying to decide what was right. Just for a little while, I said finally. Relief flashed across her face, but she didn't move closer. She just sat there, waiting. For now, that was enough. Sarah stayed, but something had shifted. She moved through the apartment carefully, as if afraid to disturb something fragile. She wasn't gone, but she wasn't really there either. She busied herself, cooking, cleaning, checking in on me, but it felt rehearsed, like she was following a script she wasn't sure she believed in. One evening, I sat in the living room, flipping through the TV channels without really watching. Sarah walked in, carrying 2 plates. I made dinner, she said quietly. I glanced at her. She looked tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Thanks, I said, taking the plate. She hesitated before sitting down at the other end of the couch. We ate in silence, the only sound the occasional clink of a fork against the plate. After a while, she set her food down and looked at me. Can we talk? I put my plate on the coffee table, exhaling. About what? She fidgeted, choosing her words. About everything. I didn't respond, so she pressed on. I know I hurt you. And I don't expect you to forgive me just like that. But I need you to understand. I didn't leave because I stopped caring. I kept my expression neutral, waiting. When I saw you like that, on the ground, bleeding, it wasn't just about that night. It was like everything from my past came rushing back. Her voice was quiet, like she was afraid of the words coming out. I panicked, she admitted. And I left. She looked at me then, eyes pleading. And I hate myself for it. The room was still. I leaned forward, rubbing a hand over my face. You don't just get to run when things get hard and come back when you feel ready, Sarah. That's not how this works. I know, she said quickly. I know, and I don't expect anything from you. She hesitated. But I want to try. She meant it. I could see that. But was that enough? I wasn't sure. The next morning, the house felt different. Quieter. Like we were both waiting for the other to speak first. I walked into the kitchen to find Sarah standing by the counter, staring at a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. She looked up when she saw me. I made coffee. Her voice was soft, uncertain. I nodded, taking the cup she had set out for me. We sat across from each other at the small table, neither of us saying a word. Sarah took a slow breath. I know I hurt you. And I know I can't take it back. I kept my eyes on my coffee. I wasn't ready to respond, and she seemed to sense that. She hesitated before speaking again. I've been thinking, maybe we should go to therapy. That caught me off guard. You mean, together? She shook her head. At first, just me. I need to fix myself before I can ask you to forgive me. I finally met her gaze. There was something different in her expression, determination, maybe. A kind of honesty I hadn't seen in weeks. That's good, I said. She swallowed hard, like she was forcing herself to say the next part. I want to get better. But I don't want to lose you in the process. I exhaled slowly, running a hand through my hair. I don't know if things can go back to how they were, Sarah. She nodded, eyes shining with unshed tears. I know. But I'm willing to try. For the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we weren't completely lost. The days following Sarah's return were heavy, laden with the unsaid things between us. She stayed at my place, but the warmth from before felt like it had disappeared, replaced by an uneasy silence. Sarah had taken to spending her time in the guest room, with little more than polite exchanges in passing. I could tell she was still carrying the weight of the past few weeks, just as I was. There was no rush to address it, but we both felt the quiet pull of the conversation we had yet to have. I did my best to keep my mind occupied, doing small tasks around the house, focusing on work, even exercising more than usual just to keep the tension in my chest at bay. The stillness felt like a barrier we couldn't cross yet, but there was hope in the air, something unspoken but undeniable. The day came when Sarah finally broke the silence. We were sitting together after dinner, the table between us like a barrier, though not one we had intentionally created. The food was cold, and the faint hum of the TV played in the background, making everything feel even quieter. I'm going to therapy tomorrow, she said, looking down at her hands, avoiding my gaze. I stopped mid-bite, feeling something stir inside me. It was a good thing, I knew that. Therapy was the right move, the only way to make sense of everything that had happened. Still, hearing her say it out loud made everything feel more real. You ready? I said, my voice steady. Sarah looked up at me, and for a moment, I saw a vulnerability in her eyes that mirrored my own. She didn't speak at first, as if trying to gather the right words. I don't know if I'm ready, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I have to try. I can't keep carrying this. There was so much in her words, regret, guilt, fear. She was trying to do what was right, but the heaviness of everything that had happened still weighed her down. And I knew it wasn't easy for her to admit this to me. I nodded, trying to give her a reassurance I wasn't sure I even felt myself. But I meant it. It's the right step. You've taken the hardest one already. She gave me a small smile, but it was tired, like a smile she had been holding onto just to convince herself she could get through this. I could tell she was still struggling. I could see it in the way she held herself, like she was still scared, scared of what the therapy might bring, scared of what it might do to us. I don't expect you to just forgive me, she said quietly, her words hanging in the air between us. The lump in my throat felt heavier than ever. I took a deep breath, staring at her, trying to process it all. It's not just about forgiveness, Sarah. It's about what happens next. It's about us finding our way again. She nodded, but her eyes were full of doubt. I hurt you. I know I did. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I reached across the table, my hand resting on hers, feeling the coldness of her skin. I know you were scared. But it's hard, Sarah. It's hard to see you look at me like I'm less. The guilt in her expression was almost unbearable to watch. I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just lost in my own head. I didn't know how to deal with what happened. I wanted to believe her. A part of me did, but the road to rebuilding trust wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't something that could happen overnight. We were both still figuring it out, still learning how to cope with the aftermath of everything. One step at a time, I said, squeezing her hand. She gave a shaky breath, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. One step at a time, she repeated softly. And in that moment, I finally felt like we were starting to understand each other again. Slowly, but surely, we were finding our way back to what we had before. There was no quick fix, no magical resolution, but there was a quiet understanding. It wasn't perfect, and we still had a long way to go. But for the first time in weeks, it felt like we might make it through this. One step at a time. The next morning, Sarah left early for her therapy session. She hadn't said much before walking out the door, just a quiet "I'll see you later" before stepping into her car. I watched from the window as she drove away, a strange mix of emotions settling in my chest. I wanted this to work. I wanted her to heal. But a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that things would never quite go back to the way they were. I spent the morning cleaning up around the house, trying to keep busy, but my thoughts kept drifting. I replayed the past few weeks over and over again, analyzing every moment, every word spoken, every silence that stretched too long. I thought about the night at the bar, about the way Sarah had looked at me afterward, like something had changed between us. I hated that look. As passed, and just when I started to wonder if she'd come back at all, I heard the door open. Sarah stepped inside, her expression unreadable. She set her bag down, let out a long breath, and finally looked at me. "How was it?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She hesitated before answering. "It was hard." She walked past me and sank onto the couch, rubbing her temples like she was trying to fight off a headache. I sat down across from her, giving her space to talk if she wanted to. "I didn't expect it to be easy," I said after a moment. She nodded, then looked at me with tired eyes. "The therapist said I have unresolved trauma. That my reaction to what happened wasn't really about you, but about my past." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "That makes sense." Sarah let out a small, bitter laugh. "Yeah. It does. But knowing that doesn't make it any easier." We sat in silence for a while, neither of us knowing what to say next. I wanted to tell her that I understood, that I didn't blame her, that I just wanted to move forward. But I also knew that words alone wouldn't fix this. "Do you want to keep going? With therapy?" I asked. She looked down at her hands, tracing the lines on her palms. "I think I have to." That was something, at least. A step in the right direction. "I'm glad," I said softly. Sarah met my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something that looked like hope. The following days passed in a strange, quiet rhythm. Sarah continued her therapy, though she didn't always talk about it. I gave her space but made sure she knew I was there if she needed me. There were moments when things felt almost normal, like when we sat together in the living room, watching a movie in silence, or when she absent-mindedly placed her coffee mug next to mine in the morning, just like she used to. Small things. Almost too small to notice. but then there were other moments. Moments when I'd catch her looking at me with something unreadable in her eyes. Moments when I'd reach for her hand out of habit, only to have her hesitate before taking it. That hesitation cut deeper than I wanted to admit. One evening, as we sat outside on the porch, I finally asked the question that had been sitting on my mind for days. "Do you think we can get back to how we were?" Sarah didn't answer right away. She pulled her knees up to her chest, staring out at the fading light on the horizon. "I don't know," she said finally. "I want to. I really do. But I don't know if I can." I felt my chest tighten, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Is it because of what happened? Or is it something else?" She turned to me, her expression soft but serious. "It's not about you," she said. "It never really was. It's about me. About the way I reacted. The way I pulled away. The way I ran." I swallowed, nodding slowly. "I just don't want to lose you," I admitted. Sarah reached for my hand, this time without hesitation. "I don't want to lose you either," she whispered. We sat there for a long time, holding onto each other like it was the only thing keeping us from falling apart completely. Maybe we would find our way back. Maybe we wouldn't. But in that moment, I knew one thing for sure: whatever happened next, we'd face it together.